Imagine walking into the Oval Office at midnight. The chandeliers are dim, the floorboards creak, and you overhear the first president giggling to himself as he cracks walnuts with his teeth. Meanwhile, in a hidden corridor, another president is riding a mechanical horse inside the White House, feeling more like a child at play than the most powerful person in the world. These aren't conspiracy theories, they're real-life secrets, strange rituals, and odd quirks tucked into the history of every U.S. president. Welcome to a journey like no other. The weirdest, most unbelievable habits of every U.S. president. Today, we'll take a wild cinematic ride through American history, not through wars or policies, but through cracks in the facade, bizarre habits, eccentric routines, and little-known rituals that make these leaders feel startlingly human. From naked swimming to moonlit vegetable habits, from wrestling champions to jelly bean addicts, by the end, you'll see the presidency in a whole new light. 1. George Washington. The first stop of our trip is George Washington, a stoic founding father with a secret: his teeth. By the time he was inaugurated, he had only one real tooth left. But those famous wooden teeth? Myth. His dentures were made from a bizarre mix of ivory, animal teeth, human teeth, and even metal. He blamed his walnut-cracking childhood for his dental ruin. Yes, he literally broke nuts with his mouth. And beyond the gnashing, he was an early riser, loved dancing for hours, and named his dogs things like Sweet Lips, Madam Moose, and Drunkard. 2. John Adams. John Adams wasn't just fiery in his politics. He also clashed with Benjamin Franklin over something hilariously mundane: whether a window should stay open at night. The debate about fresh air versus cold air saw them sleeping in the same bed during diplomatic trips, and Adams was convinced Franklin's open window would give them both colds. In short, he was principled, persistent, and strangely tied to the way air moved around him. 3. Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson, the intellectual polymath, had a mockingbird named Dick living in the White House. This bird was more than a pet. He followed Jefferson around, perched on his shoulder, even stole food from his lips. Jefferson also had a darker souvenir streak. When he visited Shakespeare's home, he chipped off a piece of Shakespeare's chair and tucked it away as a keepsake. 4. James Madison. Madison, small in stature, around 5 feet 4 inches, 100 pounds, was known to host White House gatherings with frequent ice cream servings. His frail health made him lean into comfort, and dessert became part of his solace and reward. 5. James Monroe. Not as many wild stories survive about Monroe, but as part of this odd ritual train, he gets a pass. His eccentricities were quieter, yet part of that evolving tradition of presidential quirks. 6. John Quincy Adams. Here's one of the most cinematic routines. Adams would wake before dawn, strip naked, and swim in the Potomac River, sometimes for 90 minutes. According to lore, a newspaper reporter once found his clothes on the riverbank and refused to give them back until she got an interview. That daring ritual defined his private discipline. 7. Andrew Jackson. Old Red Fox Jackson threw an absolutely bonkers inaugural party. He served a 1,400-pound wheel of cheddar cheese and encouraged the public to carve it up. It was food, theater, and power politics rolled into one. 8. Martin Van Buren. Van Buren carried loaded pistols into Senate chamber sessions. He claimed it was for safety, but in an era of duels and danger, it just showed how seriously he took his readiness. He also treated stomach troubles with a homebrew mixture of water, soot, and charcoal. 9. William Henry Harrison. He didn't live long enough to develop many well-known odd rituals. His presidency lasted just a month, but his death ties into a strange curse, which we'll revisit later. 10. John Tyler. While Tyler didn't have a headline-grabbing quirk, he stands in this chain as a transitional figure, someone bridging early Republic eccentricities into more modern presidencies. 11. James K. Polk. Polk was driven, intense, and frugal, but not known for truly bizarre personal rituals. His weirdness lies more in his obsessive attention to detail than in strange habits. 12. Zachary Taylor. Taylor loved chewing tobacco, treating it almost like a sport. He was famous for his precision at spitting, often aiming across great distances. 13. Millard Fillmore. Again, not the wildest, but Fillmore's presidency saw subtle oddities. As a quiet, bookish man, his quirks weren't public spectacle, but they were there. 14. Franklin Pierce. He struggled with personal tragedy, and some accounts suggest his drinking habits were heavy, but the historical record is murky. 15. James Buchanan. Known more for his political failures than weirdness, Buchanan's life was lonely, private, and emotionally complex. He doesn't make headlines for unusual rituals, but his introspective nature set him apart. 16. Abraham Lincoln. Here's something cinematic and surprising. Lincoln was a wrestler in his younger years. He competed in over 300 matches, losing only once, and used his stories and humor to disarm opponents. His strength was physical, but his leadership was deeply human. 17. Andrew Johnson. Johnson's legacy includes heavy alcohol use. That side of him fueled debates in his own time, and many historians argue it affected his judgment and personal relationships. 18. Ulysses S. Grant. Grant loved simplicity, but he also had formality in his routine. Not wildly eccentric, but his habits reflected his disciplined military past more than presidential flair. 19. Rutherford B. Hayes. Hayes was shy and modest. His strange habits were more about avoiding limelight than raising eyebrows. 20. James A. Garfield. Garfield had a very rural palate. He reportedly enjoyed squirrel stew, something born of his farm upbringing. He also was intellectual, ambidextrous, and multilingual, but his cooking quirks make him memorable. 21. Chester A. Arthur. Arthur was a fashion-conscious president, a tailor before he came into power. His elegance masked any more eccentric habits. He was polished, formal, and precise. 22. Grover Cleveland. He kept things fairly traditional. Not many major documented odd rituals stand out, but his return to office as the only non-consecutive president gives him a twist in his own legacy. 23. Benjamin Harrison. Harrison was reserved, scholarly, and not as flamboyant as some of his predecessors or successors. His weirdness is subtle, a man deeply committed to duty rather than distractions. 24. William McKinley. McKinley's dining was refined. He preferred simple, elegant meals. Eccentric habits? Not many make it into the Weirdness Hall of Fame for him. 25. Theodore Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt was a natural-born adventurer. He dined on exotic foods, but his weirdness shows up in his energetic routines. He boxed, hunted, and maintained rigorous physical challenges, even in office. 26. William Howard Taft. Taft had a big appetite and a big personality, but his unusual taste was for turtle soup. He even picked White House chefs based on their ability to cook turtle, a delicacy of his time. 27. Woodrow Wilson. Wilson was quiet and cerebral. His odd habits were more mental than physical. He collected thoughts, liked structure, and rarely indulged in flamboyant quirks. 28. Warren G. Harding. Harding was known for a love of poker and risk, but any bizarre personal routines are less documented in the public record. 29. Calvin Coolidge. Silent Cal had a couple of deeply weird rituals. He slept 10 hours a night, which is a lot even by today's standards. And perhaps strangest of all, he had Vaseline rubbed into his scalp every morning while eating breakfast in bed. On top of that, he rode a mechanical electric horse inside the White House just for fun. 30. Herbert Hoover. Hoover wasn't lazy. He just worked out in a bizarre way. His physician invented a sport for him, Hoover ball. It's a mix of tennis, volleyball, and medicine ball, energetic, weird, and deeply Hoover. 31. Franklin D. Roosevelt. Even in turmoil, FDR found peace in a hobby, stamp collecting. Through depression and war, he collected postage stamps, retreating into quiet focus. 32. Harry S. Truman. Truman started his day at 5 a.m. with a brisk walk. For him, routine was everything, discipline over spectacle. 33. Dwight D. Eisenhower. He was a general first and a president second. His habits leaned toward the structured. golf, military precision, and serious work ethic, rather than flamboyant weirdness. 34. John F. Kennedy. JFK had a rocking chair on his desk in the Oval Office. He often napped there. He also loved New England chowder and ice cream. Comfort in simplicity, wrapped in Camelot glamour. 35. Lyndon B. Johnson. Perhaps one of the most notorious. Johnson held meetings in the bathroom. He installed telephones in the White House bathrooms, summoned aides into his private spaces, even while showering, and reportedly used his amphibious car to prank visitors by driving into a lake. He was bold, brash, utterly in control, even in his most private moments. 36. Richard Nixon. Nixon's diet was unforgettable. Cottage cheese with ketchup for breakfast, cucumber mousse for lunch, and desserts like baked grapefruit. This odd mix speaks to his complex, often contradictory personality. 37. Gerald R. Ford. Ford was athletic, clean-cut, almost everyman. He surfed, he played football, but his quirks were low-key, no jelly beans, no mechanical horses, just straightforward fun. 38. Jimmy Carter. Carter was deeply grounded, humble, and humanitarian. He built houses, prayed, waded into Georgia peanut farming. His oddities were rooted in service, not spectacle. 39. Ronald Reagan. This is a big one. Reagan chewed jelly beans constantly. He started eating them to quit pipe smoking, but soon they became his signature. He kept giant jars in the White House and even ordered 720 bags of jelly beans every month. And believe it or not, he consulted his astrologer before planning major events, making decisions to align with cosmic movements. 40. George H.W. Bush. Bush was serious, understated, and focused on legacy. He wasn't known for bizarre habits, but he hated broccoli with a passion, famously refusing to eat it on Air Force One. 41. Bill Clinton. Clinton's curious routine? He used to jog to McDonald's. Secret Service agents were reportedly exhausted trying to keep up. 42. George W. Bush. Bush had some simple tastes: burgers, straightforward food, no broccoli, true to his Texan roots. His quirks were more political than personal, but his disdain for certain veggies became part of his image. 43. Barack Obama. Obama loved his chill moments, basketball, reading, and secretly mastering a chili recipe. He wasn't as outwardly weird, but he was quietly disciplined and introspective. 44. Donald Trump. Trump's habit profile is colorful, but not always documented in the same quirky ritual way as his predecessors. He's bold, brash, and larger than life. His habits often merge into persona, strategy, and spectacle. 45. Joe Biden. Biden's public image leans friendly and down to earth, while he doesn't have many deeply weird White House rituals publicly reported. Yet, his generational values, empathy, and warmth make him uniquely relatable. His biggest habit might simply be connecting with people, stories, and the human side of power. And there you have it, the wild, the weird, the human side of every U.S. president. Behind the policy speeches and formal portraits were people who napped on the job, wrestled like champs, danced, swam naked at dawn, and snacked like kids. Those odd habits remind us, even at the highest seat of power, the presidents were living, breathing humans with quirks, insecurities, and moments of pure, unfiltered humanity. If you love discovering these secrets, make sure to subscribe, because what's coming next will blow your mind.